Sharks and rays, they are ancient, enigmatic, misunderstood, and essential to our oceans. But these important animals are under immense pressure. As the Save Our Seas Foundation, we're here to help. Through supporting research, conservation, and education, we work to ensure a future for sharks and rays. The Save Our Seas Foundation. Together, we can make a difference.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Save Our Seas Foundation Distinguished Speaker Series. My name is Lance. I'm from the Museum of Discovery and Science in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We're so happy to have you here for the next round in the series. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Save Our Seas Foundation for, of course, making the whole series possible. You can go to the museum's YouTube channel and check out years worth of content at this point. Series going all the way back. Like and subscribe, of course, and see all the wonderful shark research and conservation and education that's happening literally all over the world. Tonight, we're bringing you two researchers that are featuring their work from Taiwan. So we're going all the way across the ocean today from Florida. And I'm going to be talking about some really cool animals, dragon sharks or guitarfish, as they're more commonly known, and the research that's being done with them. First, though, a little bit about our wonderful museum. Our museum is located in, like I said, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and there's a little picture of it. Our mission is to connect people to inspiring science. We do that every day at the museum, and we kind of aim all of our education around four key content pillars centered around physical sciences, early childhood education, health and wellness, and environmental sustainability. That's what we're doing tonight, that sustainability role. I am the director of environmental sustainability at the museum, and I'm so happy to be hosting the series and bringing you some really cool stuff tonight. If you ever find yourself in Fort Lauderdale, please feel free to drop in. We'd love to have you. Tonight, like I said, we're bringing you two researchers with their work centered on guitarfish. Dr. Kevin Weng is a marine biologist whose lifelong curiosity about the ocean began in the tidal pools of Hong Kong and in the lakes of Michigan. That early wonder eventually expanded into a distinguished career devoted to understanding and safeguarding the wildlife and inhabitants of our planet's waters. Trained in biology and oceanography, Dr. Weng has spent decades studying how the ocean atmosphere system shapes the migrations and behaviors of species like tuna, shark, and deep living snappers. His fieldwork is as varied as is immersive, from 5-hour rebreather dives to free diving for specimens, conducting shark ultrasounds alongside of a boat, or cradling a Neapolitan wrasse underwater during delicate surgical procedures. Sounds like a true Aquaman. His philosophy is grounded in a belief that humans are not apart from nature, but are a part of it. And that conserving marine life requires understanding ecosystems, respecting fishers, and recognizing the social dimensions of sustainable harvest. Dr. Weng splits his year between Virginia and Hawaii, following fish migrations along the U.S. Atlantic coast, and diving in dynamic waters of the Pacific. His research spans the globe, from deep channels of the Seychelles to the dramatic seascapes of Taiwan, where he is currently working to illuminate the biology and habitat needs of wedge fishes and guitarfishes, species vulnerable to the impacts from bottom contact fishing. As a field biologist, he specializes in observing, capturing, tagging, and sampling fish in the wild, while collaboratively closely with geneticists, modelers, commercial fishers to understand species movements and forecast their responses to climate change. Dr. Weng, Aquaman, welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Our second speaker, working in conjunction with Dr. Weng, of course, Dr. Wei-Chuan Cheng, known by many as Riar. Riar is a local word meaning ocean. Riar grew up in a small fishing village on Taiwan's east coast in an upbringing that shaped his lifelong devotion to marine life. Nicknamed by his classmates because of his love for the sea, he later left his hometown to pursue a long journey of study that led him from aquaculture to marine biology and academia. His early fieldwork along Taiwan's coastline revealed the complex dynamics of marine fisheries and depended on his fascination with the mysteries therein. He completed his PhD at the National Taiwan University, where his award-winning dissertation examined the population dynamics and fisheries of sailfish, a species vital to the culture and economy of Eastern Taiwan. Returning home to work by the sea, Dr. Cheng continues to find both purpose and joy in the ocean that first inspired him. Riar, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Both of you sound like you're like born of the ocean. It's so great to talk to people that have been doing this literally their entire life. So welcome. We're happy to have you both. I'm going to throw it over to you guys to show us all your amazing research that you're doing. And while you do that, just remind our guests that you are very welcome to ask questions during this talk. Type them into the chat. You can send them directly to me, and I will ask them on your behalf. We will have a dedicated sort of like Q&A session at the end, but don't hesitate. Ask questions as we go. All right. Kevin, you got it? You can share your screen.
Okay. Oops. Ready?
And we should say, Riar, you're coming to us from Taiwan, right? And it's tomorrow there, right?
Yes.
How's the future look? Dr. Wang, Kevin, you're coming to us from Virginia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Virginia Institute of Marine Science at
Exactly.
William
Yes.
and Mary. Great. I can see your screen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hosting us. This is really exciting and a great opportunity for us to share our work. So you just got introduced to Riar, Dr. Wei-Chuan Chiang. He is the division chief of the Eastern Fishery Research Center in Chenkong, Taiwan. You can see in this photograph here, he has actually just put a satellite tag on a huge sailfish and is about to release it back into the ocean. We also have a collaborator, Dr. Nanjie Su, who is a professor at National Taiwan Ocean University in the north of Taiwan, a little bit northeast of Taipei. And he has been working closely with Riar and I and connecting us with commercial fishermen and helping us do all kinds of research. The research that we're presenting today is supported by a grant from the Save Our Seas Foundation. And of course, each of the investigators is supported by their own home institution. So Lance asked me to just say a quick thing about careers. And so I just have one very boring slide. To be a scientist or a marine biologist, this may not be what you want to hear, but study hard and take as much math as you can. Take some computer programming. You will note there's not a whole lot of diving involved in my advice here. Read about things that you are interested in. And when you get interested in something, rather than specifically focusing on species, think about the questions that you're interested in and follow those questions. When you're following those questions, you might start reading about bugs and trees. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I wanted to study fish. Well, the questions that you're interested in, you can learn a lot by reading about bugs and trees. They're the same ecological questions, and those people who are studying insects and trees, well, they've been at it for longer than the marine biologists, and they've learned a lot. So read broadly in the literature. Okay. Well, having given you that speech, our project is actually species focused. Now, why are we doing this species focused research study? It's because the wedge fishes and guitar fishes have been designated as critically endangered by this organization, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, which keeps a big list of all of the species around planet Earth that are under threat. So you can go to this website here in order to learn more about endangered species and about this organization. Let's just take a quick step back and figure out where we are. So we want to look at wedge fishes. Where are we on the tree of life? Well, okay, so let's look at vertebrates. That includes all of the organisms with the backbone. So that includes you and me and everybody. And then we've got up here the cartilaginous fishes, and then we've got over here the bony fishes. So our wedge fishes are going to fall into this Batoidea, which is the rays and the skates. And if we just go and look a little bit more, so now we are looking only at the cartilaginous fishes. And you can see here we have three groups up here: wedge fishes, giant guitar fishes, and guitar fishes. So we're going to be in this kind of general area of the tree of life with the organisms that we're studying. So these animals, they live on the bottom. That's what this word demersal means. It means living on the bottom. They typically live near coasts, and this is exactly the environments where human beings have done the most fishing through time. And what that means is that these organisms don't have too many natural refuges where there is no fishing happening. They also, being uh, in these groups like sharks and rays and these related organisms, they have very few babies and they tend to take a long time to reach maturity. All of these things together are kind of the worst kind of alignment of the planets, or sort of a perfect storm of factors that make it very, very easy for these types of animals to be decimated by human activity. And that's why around the world, the populations have plummeted of wedge fishes and guitar fishes. And that's why we are studying them and we've become very interested in them. This is a painting from Riar's hometown. Riar, can you tell us a little bit about this painting?
Or it's painting about it. Actually, it's a seafood restaurant, and the restaurant owner is the very famous shark buyer, and also he liked the shark very much. He is the second generation for the shark trade. So he has his own museum, and so he painted a lot of shark pen, and also he collect a lot of shark species. Thank you.
Fantastic. And so this one, you can see that it has these, it has this rostrum that has teeth on it. So if we actually go back one little bit, so it's probably depicting something in the sawfishes group. This also highlights the importance of collaboration with fishermen, because the fishermen are the people who are the most intimately involved with the oceans and with the fishes that live in them. So we need to collaborate closely with the fishers in order to seek solutions to these conservation problems. There's a lot of concern in the global biology community about the wedge fishes and guitar fishes. And so there have been a number of papers published in recent years highlighting this concern and calling for additional research. So here's a couple of recent papers that are calling for additional work to be done on these groups. There was a big meeting held a few years back that brought together lots of researchers to gather up all of the knowledge that we had about these groups. And one of the things that was determined at the meeting is we need to go out and learn more. We don't know enough about these organisms. They have not been studied enough. We need to know things about their habitat, their behavior. Are they migrating? If so, where are they migrating to? What are they eating? What are their critical diet items? So these are very, very important things for us to learn in order to inform conservation. So this is one of the species that we're studying. So this animal is known as the bowmouth, the shark ray, or the horseshoe ray. And it has a distribution throughout the Indo-Pacific, as you can see on this map here from the IUCN website. It is listed as critically endangered, and in this range, it has actually become extremely rare. It's very, very hard to find one of these organisms in the wild now, so it's quite unusual to be able to access a live specimen. And that's the importance of RIAR's deep connections in the fishing and research communities in Taiwan because he knows everyone, and so he's able to access live specimens when that rare event happens when one is captured. And this photograph is actually one that we took of a specimen that was actually in the tank at RIAR's research facility in Southeast Taiwan.
This is a common, so not, I wouldn't say common species, but I've seen bowmouth guitarfish in aquaria, like in the U.S.
Yes.
It
So
seems
this,
on multiple occasions.
yeah,
So it's interesting that they're endangered, critically endangered in the wild, but not
so actually, Lance,
not uncommon to see in an
yeah.
aquarium.
So that's a really interesting point that you bring up, Lance, because the aquariums around the world, including aquariums in the United States, have always been intimately involved in conservation in the wild. And the aquariums have supported a lot of research on threatened and endangered species. They've supported habitat conservation. Because this animal is really, really endangered, aquariums have been concerned about it for a very long time. And a number of years ago, people in the aquarium area figured out that they could keep these animals alive in captivity and they could actually have them breed in captivity,
Mm.
give birth to their young inside of the aquarium, and through a lot of very, very difficult and detailed research, they discovered how to keep those babies alive and growing and healthy so that they could actually grow up in the aquarium. So this has been the the result of a huge amount of work by aquarium professionals over quite a few years. So the fact that you can go to an aquarium and see this species it's really something that's quite special. And it's actually possible that animals that are bred in captivity can actually be then reintroduced back out into the wild.
Mm.
And this has been done with birds and mammals, but it's not something that's been done very much with sharks and rays. So this is something that's of interest to the aquariums and that they're starting to work on.
That's interesting. Yeah, thanks for that extra detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is another species that we're working on. You can see the difference in the shape of this animal. So this is sort of a classic wedgefish, um, which has that pointed nose and the sort of triangular pectoral fins. And this is a species that has been reported only from Taiwan. So this is a very, very important species that has, as far as we have been able to discover so far, has a very restricted geographic range. You can see here the map from the IUCN website is just showing kind of the west coast of Taiwan and this channel in between Taiwan and the mainland. If we actually look at what has been stated about this species in an authoritative text, not textbook, but like a field guide by Last, White, and Saray, they say recently discovered, not well known, apparently lives, diet probably consists of. So when you see things like that being stated in a recent high quality peer-reviewed scientific publication, you know that this is a species that really has not been well studied. So it's really, really important that we get out there and learn more about this species in order to inform conservation about it. Our colleague, Professor Nanche Su, has been conducting research on the west coast of Taiwan, and he and his team have discovered that these baby wedge fishes are being caught regularly in a particular season in the gillnet fisheries on the west coast of Taiwan. And this has raised a bunch of really perplexing questions. If you are finding babies in a particular area, why are they there? I mean, probably it's because there was a mother that came and gave birth in that area. So there's some very, very important things that we need to learn in order to understand which habitats and seasons are critical for the life cycle of this species. Is there some kind of a pupping ground where the mothers are giving birth? Is there a nursery area for these babies as they're growing up through their juvenile stages? All of these things are really important for us to learn and will inform the government of the best ways of conserving these species. This is an image of some adults that are in a fish market. So the adults are regularly appearing in markets. So we are interested in learning more about the fisheries that are taking those animals, the seasons they're being taken in, and where they are migrating to when they're not on the fishing ground. So RIAR was able to obtain live specimens of the first species that we talked about, the bowmouth or the shark ray. And this is a picture of one of the organisms that RIAR was able to get when it was in his tank. And here's another photograph. And I have to say, are you not in love with this thing? I mean, have you ever seen a cuter animal in your whole life? I mean, don't you just want to give that thing a hug and a kiss?
It's pretty spiky. I don't know.
Yeah, they are actually pretty spiky. So these are really quite sharp. And so when you are handling these animals, you do need to wear gloves and be careful.
Mm.
They don't have the sharp teeth of a shark. They actually have a crushing mouth that is made for crushing the shells of things like crabs or snails or clams. So they have more of a crushing jaw than a cutting jaw. So you definitely don't want to get bitten by one of these things, but they're not as dangerous as something like shark. Because we had the animals alive in RIAR's research facility, we were able to utilize a medical ultrasound machine in order to look at the inside of the animals. And what we really wanted to know is, because this is a female specimen, is this animal pregnant? Can we see any evidence of there being babies inside of it? And so we were able to get an image such as this, which is kind of like an image that you would get if you went into a hospital to have an ultrasound taken of yourself, where you can start imaging the digestive system, the body wall, the spine. Researchers have been able to see babies inside of pregnant sharks in the past. The animals that we so far have used the ultrasound with have not been pregnant, but at least that is information, that we know that the animal is not pregnant. Obviously, it would be very exciting if we did have an opportunity to tag a pregnant animal. So after we had done the ultrasound investigations, we were interested in putting a satellite tag on these animals. RIAR is actually one of the world leaders in using satellite technologies to study open ocean fishes. He has been using satellite tags to study all kinds of species over many years. And he has deep experience in all aspects of satellite tagging. So we grabbed the animal in the tank and we actually flipped it upside down. And that's because for a lot of sharks and rays, if they are turned upside down, they often will kind of go to sleep. It's something that's called tonic immobility, and that will calm the animal down and allow us to safely take measurements. Following that procedure, we actually raised the animal up onto kind of a stretcher. We put a hose that was pumping seawater into the animal's mouth to make sure that it was well oxygenated. And then RIAR placed the satellite tag on the back of the animal. So this is a photograph of the animal. You can see the water hose here, and RIAR is actually attaching the satellite tag to the back of the animal here. Here's another photograph where he is placing the satellite tag on this ridge on the back of the animal. You can see the water hose here that's feeding into the animal's mouth in order to provide oxygen to the gills. Following that, we took the measurements of the animal, so placed it on a scale for the weight and obviously a measuring tape. And then our colleagues in the research facility placed the animal in a water tank on the back of a truck so that it could be transported to the ocean. And this is a video just showing the truck transporting the animal from the research facility back to the ocean. One of the reasons that RIAR's facility is perfect for this kind of work is that it's very, very close to the ocean. So it's just a few minutes drive from the research facility to get to a good location that has a beach for the release of the animal. And if we skip ahead to the end here, we can see we're arriving at the beach here, and so you can see we're right at the ocean, and the team is going to lift the animal in a sling and transport it into the water.
How much do they weigh? How much of that would weigh?
Oh, now you're embarrassing me. I can't remember. I think it was. Do you remember, RIAR? Was it like 80 kilograms?
Okay.
Oh, RIAR, you're muted.
So hundreds of pounds.
Can you?
It's around 20 kilograms. Kevin, you're right.
Okay. 120.
120. Yeah, that's heavy. Okay.
This is a video that was taken by Dr. Garmin Shu following our release of the animal back to the wild. And you can see it kind of swimming through a coral reef environment out towards deeper water. This is a smaller individual that was obtained by Fred Fan of Fred Fan Aquatics, and we were able to tag and release this animal as well back to the wild.
And that's a juvenile of the same species.
This is a juvenile of the same species, yeah.
They have different markings on them. They are really cute.
Yeah, the juveniles have those very dramatic kind of black patterns on them. Presumably that has something to do with camouflage or something like that. Yeah, they are extremely cute when they are very, very small. And this is a video that depicts the sampling of the Taiwanese wedgefish in collaboration with gillnet fishers on the west coast of Taiwan. And so we were able to collaborate with the fishers. This is a research program that has been put together by Professor Nanche Su of National Taiwan Ocean University. And so he has a lot of connections with fishermen who are using waters of Western Taiwan and the channel that goes to the mainland and out through Penghu, which is an island group in the middle of that channel. And so we are interested in learning more about these juveniles that are coming up in the gillnet fishery. So here's a photograph of a number of these juvenile Taiwanese wedge fishes that have come up in the gillnet. You can see they're appearing alongside species such as crabs and snails and a whole variety of different species of bony fish that are being targeted for eating. These little wedge fishes typically are thrown back alive by the fishermen. We were able to get a little DNA sample and take some measurements, and then we would throw them back into the ocean. If some of those individuals were deceased at the time of capture, we would save them so that we could give them to the museum in Taiwan for holding in their collections for further research in the future. And this is a photograph of Captain Shun, who is one of our main fishermen collaborators, who was kind enough to take us out on the ocean and allow us to ride along with him and his crew on his vessel in order to take the samples. And so we have a whole bunch of DNA samples over here, courtesy of Captain Shun. And he's the chief of the Yunlin Offshore Fishermen's Association. And here's just another view of one of these cute, tiny little Taiwanese wedge fish going back into the ocean after we've taken a little sample. So good luck, little guy. We hope you grow very big and have lots and lots of offspring.
Was that an adult that size?
Sorry, that was no. That's the little
juvenile.
Yeah. So the adults are going to be 1 to 1.5 meters long.
Oh, okay. 3 or 4
this is
feet
definitely
long. Yeah.
definitely a baby one.
Cool. Oh, I see it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Still.
And so again, the fact that these very, very small ones, these baby ones, are showing up in this area is part of Professor Nanche Su's research program to understand the full life cycle of these organisms. You know, where is the pupping ground? Where are the mothers coming in from? Where are they going afterwards? Okay. I had mentioned that we were providing museum specimens for future research. So this is Professor Ho, who's one of the scientists in Taiwan who is maintaining museum collections. So he has fishes and sharks and rays of all kinds of different species. So by providing his museum with all of these additional specimens, we will be supporting research into the future for future scientists, graduate students, etc. Now, one of the things about these satellite tags that we are using is that they will transmit a summary of the data up into the sky that will get picked up by satellites. That's just a little bit of the data that they recorded. If you can go out in the ocean and actually recover the tag, you will get much, much, much more data. And so this is something that Riar has become really quite famous for, that he has recovered a lot of these tags out on the ocean. And maybe Riar, could you just tell us a little bit about what is happening in these photographs?
Actually, our team tried to recover the tag. The tag was released by Kevin in Penghu. Also, the tag as the program pop up after 5 months. So when the tag pop up, we will get the aqua signal, and then we can use my teammate. We have a goniometer. You can find the signal on the ocean. So and then when you use your cell phone, you know the location, and then when you be there, you need to use your goniometer to find the exactly area. and the fishermen really cooperate with us, and then they could find the exact area, and then we recovered this tag successfully. Thank you.
Yeah. And so Riar mentioned that he had a goniometer. So this is actually a very special device that can pick up the transmission from the tag. So if you imagine this tag is floating around in the middle of the ocean and it's the size of a cigar. So how are you going to find that little tiny thing in the middle of the gigantic ocean? So Riar and his team are literally on a boat with this special device, and it's going beep, 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 and they're trying to home in on the direction of the signal. Um, so if you really ever wanted to have kind of a Hollywood moment in marine biology, it would be Riar on the front of a boat with his goniometer, and it's beeping, and he's trying to figure out the direction to the satellite tag that's floating around on the ocean. Alrighty.
That is pretty amazing that you're able to locate them and get more data from them.
Yeah, and I've recovered a couple of these things. Riar has recovered probably an uncountable number, and it is hard. It is really, really hard. You're out there on a boat, the waves are hitting you, and the signal is not that frequent, so it keeps coming from different directions. It really takes a lot of skill in order to find these. So Riar has taken it to a high level. Um, this is a photograph of the tag that Riar's team brought back. And it's interesting because what do you think these things are? Can anybody take a guess?
Are they marks from the I don't know what they're called, the horns on their backs, like as it's bouncing on their back?
So that's possible. It's possible that it's from those horns. Yep. The tag is buoyant, so it probably doesn't really touch the animal because
Mm,
it's attached to the animal, but then it's trying to float up. So it tends to be kind of floating up off of the back. So the other possibility is that these are tooth marks
hmm
from some kind of a predatory fish that has sharp teeth. And so this is something that is a possibility with these kinds of satellite tags because it's something about the size of a cigar that is apparently swimming around on the back of some larger fish. It's possible that some other predator is trying to eat those little fish that are associated with something large.
hmm
So that's a possibility. So kind of an interesting um, tidbit about these satellite tags. So this is some of the information that we got from that satellite tag. And so in order to understand how to read this graph, I know there's a lot going on in this figure, so let's just walk through it a little bit. This black line here is the light intensity. And so the light intensity is going up and then down, and then it stays flat, and then it goes up and down. So what do you suppose is going on here? Why does the light go up and down and up and down?
They must be either diving or it's just day night.
It's just the day and the night.
Right.
So sunrise, daytime, sunset, nighttime. And so this just, you put a light meter out in the world, and it's going to be light in the day and dark in the night, right?
Right.
It's not rocket science. But you can see that the diving behavior of the animal is actually causing spikes or dips in this light record because obviously when you swim a little deeper in the ocean, it gets darker.
hmm
And if anyone out in the audience has ever been free diving or scuba diving and you've gone a little deeper in the ocean, what did you notice about the light? And then if anybody lives so I'm in Virginia on the east coast of the United States of America. The water's kind of cloudy, you
hmm
know? So you don't have to dive very deep in order for it to get really dark. So the water here in Taiwan is much clearer than that. So the light is penetrating to a far greater depth. Okay, so what is going on with this colored line down here? So the temperature is denoted by the color, So if you look at this legend over here,
Hmm.
this is the really, really warm temperatures, and I'm missing my unit here. It should say centigrade. So apologies to everybody who's used to Fahrenheit, but in the science world, we do use metric.
Yep.
30 degrees, that's, what is that, in the 90s
Yeah.
Fahrenheit? So 30 degrees is like a real nice warm summer day. You're wearing shorts and a t-shirt. If you're hiking, you're getting all sweaty. 25 is, it's actually not that cold. 25 is probably like a comfortable room temperature.
Hmm.
Like in the summertime, if you have air conditioning in your office and you go in there, it's probably 24, 23 in your office with the AC on. So it's cooler, but it's by no means cold. This is not wintertime. We are in a subtropical part of the world in Taiwan, so we're not expecting to experience, extremely cold temperatures. If you look at the color of the line, it tells you what the temperature is. So for instance, these little purple bits over here are the 25 degrees centigrade. Uh, where the line is on the page is denoting the depth in meters. So when this line goes down here, that means that the animal suddenly dove from shallow to deep and reached a depth of, in this case, 50, 60 something kind of meters deep. 100 meters is 330 feet deep. 50 meters is 160 feet deep,
Yeah.
something like that. So for any scuba divers out there in the audience, how deep do you typically go on a scuba dive?
No deeper than 120 feet.
Feet, yeah, no deeper than 120 feet.
Yeah.
So this animal actually has gone to a depth that would be probably a little bit deeper than what you would want to do on your scuba diving, but not that
Hmm.
much deeper. Um, this period at the very beginning, so the animal is in warmer water and it stays in extremely shallow water. Can anybody guess what that is?
I was assuming that's where you released it.
This is actually when it's still in captivity.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is still in our tank. So this is the animal in our tank, and then we put the animal back into the ocean, and it,
Right.
surprise, surprise, it says, I don't want to have anything to do with you human beings. I am swimming down into some deeper water to get away from you.
Yeah.
And then you can see it going about its business, going on some ups and downs. Um, and if we look at another week in the life of this animal, we can still see our day-night
Hmm.
cycles here. So when it's high, it's daytime, and when it's low, it's nighttime. We can see the animal swimming down here. Now it's getting down to almost 75 meters. Um, and then it's doing different things. Here it's down deep. Here it's up shallow.
Hmm.
Uh,
It
so
looks like at night it comes shallow, right? And then the day it goes back down deep.
yes, that's actually a really critical observation that you just made. So not all the time, but frequently the animal wants to be shallower at night and deeper in the day. So that's an important observation to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Um, we can see here a period of time when the animal, it was kind of shallow all the time. It was a little bit shallower at night and a little tiny bit deeper in the daytime. But in general, I mean, it's only 10 meters deep here. That's only 30 feet deep.
Hmm.
That's not that much deeper than the diving end of a big swimming pool. So it probably is in a near shore area here, quite close to the shoreline. And then it moves off into some deeper water here.
Yeah.
But that observation you made of being deeper in the daytime and shallower in the nighttime is also quite important. Now, when we say shallower at night, the one thing that we do want to be careful of is it's not actually staying shallow all night. Because when it stays deep all day long, you can see that these lines, they stay in about the same depth range here. It's between 35 and 40 meters here during the daytime. But what is happening here in the nighttime? Is it actually staying shallow all night long?
No, it's going back and forth, right?
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, great. So excellent interpretation of the graph. It's actually going back and forth from the top to the bottom repeatedly. This is a behavior that we are hypothesizing probably has something to do with feeding, because by swimming up and down through the water column from top to bottom, the animal is able to detect things that are happening in different depth layers. It would be able to smell something that was happening anywhere in the water column and then try to home in on whatever that was. So this is quite an interesting finding that indicates that the animal is feeding at night and it's not exclusively focused on the bottom. It's actually potentially looking for food throughout the entire water column. This kind of information also has implications for management, because when you look at this fish, it's this flat thing that lays on the bottom. You think, okay, it's living on the bottom. You might make some assumptions about what types of fishing gear it might encounter because it's only on the bottom. But if we get some information like this from our satellite tag, that actually tells us, well, just by looking at this animal, I would have predicted that it just lays on the bottom all the time and feeds on the bottom, but that isn't actually true based upon these data. That the
Mhm.
animal's using the full water column. That means that it could encounter fishing gear that's placed shallow or on the bottom. So I just wanted to give some thanks to some of the people who have helped us on this research. I probably have forgotten some people, and I very, very much apologize if I did. But we have been helped by a whole bunch of people that are listed here. Um, and we absolutely would never have been able to do this work without the Fisheries Research Institute of Taiwan. Um, and we are being the chief of the Eastern Marine Biology Center here, as well as Professor Nanche Su from National Taiwan Ocean University. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it's so interesting to hear about species that that I often say this in this series that there's so much that we don't know, right? It seems like every time we have a speaker such as yourself come on and it's just like this is new information, right?
Mhm.
Brand new to science. It's really cool to see how dedicated you and your team and we are, how dedicated you guys are to being really good at this research, right? Really honing in on it and making it a an art form almost to research these animals. So kudos to you guys. This sounds like a really cool project, and I assume it's still ongoing. There's you guys are still working on these things, right?
Yeah, we're still working.
Yeah. So I guess my question leads to then, like the course your Save Our Seas Foundation and other institutions are helping support this. But what are the next steps? What are you planning to do? You have the satellite tags. Are you continuing satellite tagging? What kind of information are you looking to get? And it leads me into another question about your 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 data showing that there's difference in depth, but do the satellite track location? So are they simply going up and down in the water column or horizontally, or are they going vertically? Sorry, or are they going from deep to shallow horizontally? Right? Are they following like the benthic rise, or are they swimming in open water going straight up and down? So I don't know, just kind of interesting. What do you guys think about your next steps?
So one of the well, obviously we do wish to continue trying to get more satellite tags out. We have a pretty small data set so far because of the extreme rarity of this animal.
Mm,
I mean, there's really not very many places that you could find a live uh, bowmouth or shark ray as they're called.
Right.
So the situation in Taiwan with RIAR having a research station right on the coast there and having connections throughout the fishing industry in Taiwan really makes it quite a unique situation for accessing an extremely rare animal. So we want to
Hmm.
continue trying to do the satellite tagging. One of the other things we're very interested in doing is doing some genetic analysis
Hmm.
with these animals to try to understand stock structure and potentially with that possible pupping ground with the Taiwanese wedgefish, which is the other species that we're studying on the West Coast, trying to understand things like can we estimate how many females are giving birth in a particular season by getting genetic analysis of all of their babies? So those types of questions we're very interested in.
Is there any potential for environmental DNA analysis as well, eDNA?
That is not something that I personally have expertise in, so I couldn't give you really any educated comments.
It's okay.
I mean, people are definitely picking up rare species using eDNA techniques for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been something that's been talked about with a few different speakers, and it's something that's kind of like a up and coming, really powerful sort of like research to pick up, DNA. That's, and for
Hmm.
our listeners, it's a technique that, excuse me, a technique that allows you to detect species specific DNA just floating in the water. So you take water samples and you can see if an animal has been there or a species has been there. Um, and based on how degraded the DNA is, you can get an estimate on how long ago it was and this kind of thing. So, but first you need to know the genetics of that animal that you're looking for. So maybe the genetic information that you guys are taking can help support that in future or something. But we had a few questions coming in from the audience. We have a few minutes. One of the questions I thought was really interesting. They wanted to know what the rhinopristiform, that word for the group of these animals. What does that word mean? Rhinopristiform. Rhino, I guess, is like nose, right? Because like a rhinoplasty is when you get a nose job, right? So, what's the rest of that word mean?
I very embarrassingly, I can't give you an immediate answer. I'm going to have to go back and study my Latin.
Okay, knows something.
Yes.
Uh, okay. I thought that's an interesting observation someone had. And then we had time for maybe one more, but they were asking, you showed that slide about we don't really this animal probably eats this. It most likely lives here. Um, do you have any more information about what do they eat? Where are you working in to hone in on filling in those probablys and most likelies um, with these species?
We are definitely going to be getting more information with respect to their spatial ecology of where they're living
Hmm.
and migrating. Um, with respect to some of those other questions, we did when we had some of the baby wedge fishes that were deceased when they were recovered from the fishing gear,
Hmm.
saved those animals, and the that photograph I showed of the students at National Taiwan Ocean University doing dissections, they were actually saving the stomachs of those baby wedge fishes. That means that in the future it would be possible for someone to investigate their diet. It's quite a difficult thing to do because,
Hmm.
well, for a start, these are very small animals. I mean, they're little animals, so their stomach
Right.
is this big. And what's inside of the stomach typically is kind of a bunch of goop.
Right.
So you don't have a lot of opportunity to identify the diet by kind of looking at what it ate because it's mostly digested. This gets into an area of trying to utilize very special genetic techniques in order to try
Mm.
to understand what the diet was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that'll provide information on if you know what they're eating, then you can protect those species potentially too. If you know where their food sources are, and get more detailed information about ecosystem and structure and trophic levels and all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah. Cool. Well, my just last question for you guys is, how can we stay informed? If anyone wants to learn more or follow you guys in your research, where can they do that?
Riar?
Hi. Okay, so we thanks all the audience. So actually, welcome to Taiwan, and we are at the eastern coast of Taiwan. But however, we do not know this series very much. So come on, try to join us. And now we have a small aquarium, so in our area. So anyway, we are here and waiting for everyone to join us. Thank you.
I'm going to add it to my list whenever I come visit Taiwan to come stop by and say hello.
Okay, big welcome.
Thank you.
And I will say I've had the great opportunity to visit Taiwan to work with Riar and Nanche. And Taiwan is an absolutely spectacularly beautiful country of both ocean and very rugged mountains.
Mm.
And possibly most importantly, the food is the best food. It is an amazing place to go to experience incredible cuisine.
It's bumping it up my list.
Yeah.
Dragon sharks and good food. Thank you guys both for joining us tonight and talking about your research. It sounds like really awesome stuff you guys are up to, and of course, I wish you luck in finding out more information about these amazing animals. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I would encourage everyone to join us next time. You can follow along the whole series. Like I said earlier, you can follow the Mods YouTube channel and watch the whole Distinguished Speaker series. But next time you can join us live talking to Sophie Prendergast about devil rays of the Azores. You can scan the QR code or go to mods.org/STEM Learning Series and sign up and join us live. And if you can't join us live, you can find it later on our YouTube channel. Thanks again to the Save Our Seas Foundation for making this whole series possible and making such, like I said, such amazing research possible as well. I hope everyone has a good night. Riar, a good day.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.